The mailbag is bursting. I assume, I haven't actually seen it, but it's Freaky Friday, and we have questions from you all, and we are going to answer them. That is Bill Landis and Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Bill has protected all of these questions. I was looking forward to a week where I could go in just blind and like shoot the breeze, hang out. And I should have worn Bill's cool glasses to enjoy it and make the most of it from the last episode that we did on a Freaky Friday. But I don't have him, and I can't get into his house anyway because he's still sick.
Yeah, you don't want to be here.
But he's got all the envelopes. Everyone licked the stamps and sent in the questions old school, and we've got them. Where should we begin?
We'll begin with a football question. We got some really good questions. I'll be honest with you, they're not all about Ohio State football, but we'll start with one that is. This question is from Ryan. Do you think that Ohio State's defense could beat the number set by Michigan's defense last year, which was 10.4 points per game allowed? And then he did some research here. 2021 Georgia is the only other defense to break 11 points per game in the last decade. So do you think Ohio State's defense will be of that ilk, the 2021 Georgia and the 2023 Michigan defenses?
Mm-hmm. As I look at the schedule, like the regular season schedule, I think that there are two teams that will score more than 11 points against Ohio State.
They are?
And that's probably Penn State and Oregon. And
not Michigan.
Michigan's right on the cusp. I've said before, I think I said on the Kings of Columbus that we did, I thought Ohio State 24-10 over Michigan. That's where I'm at. So I think, they have a real opportunity to do that. The schedule sets up nicely, and the teams that they play that are normally talented on offense, like heading into the season, Penn State's wide receivers are a real, cluster, whatever. Oregon clearly lost a lot of talent on offense. Yeah, they brought some guys back, and Dylan Gabriel is likely to be a pretty efficient and successful quarterback in their system. But I think that even that game, I think the Oregon game will be like a 21-17 type of game, something along those lines. So, I think they can do that.
They weren't all that far off from that a year ago. And I think that adding in Caleb Downs and being even more veteran at, I guess not necessarily more veteran at linebacker, but close to it, puts Ohio State in a position. They're going to be the best defense in the country. That's my prediction. And I think that they will beat that mark. I think they'll give up 9.2 points per game.
9.2. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm looking here to see whether or not the program record for scoring defense is in the Ohio State record book. And maybe I should have looked this up before we started recording the show, because I knew we were going to talk about this and you guys didn't. But I didn't look it up anyway. That's single season highs, single game highs. Ohio State single season highs. Scoring defense. The record for tackles for loss for yards is 507 in 19. That seems like a lot.
507.
Yeah. They used to get a lot of tackles back in the day. They don't get as many as they used to. There are points scored, but I don't see scoring defense. We'll have to get that number, I think.
Last year was what, 11 points or something? I mean, it was
11.2. Yeah. So it was like, it was within a point of Michigan's defense, which was very good. I think they'll do it too. I don't know. Even Oregon's offense, like as Doug and I have talked a little more about Oregon on Kings of the North, I've become slightly less enamored with what Oregon might be offensively. Like losing Bucky Irving, losing Troy Franklin, losing Bo Nix. They did a reasonably good job replacing those guys, but I think they'll be not quite as good as they were last year offensively. And then the rest.
They also lost a lot of really good offensive linemen too.
They lost
their best offensive lineman. They're apex.
They lost their center. Yeah, their tackles are back. They're both pretty good. And then I don't know if Ohio State plays another good offense. Right.
I think that's the kicker about this schedule is that you're finding some holes in what Oregon has coming back on offense. I've talked in multiple shows about how porous I think Michigan is going to look offensively. And then we're talking about banking on Drew Aller not looking like he has for the last year and a half, and with that wide receiving core, like those are the three best teams that Ohio State plays, and I don't think any of them can score on the Buckeyes. Like,
yeah,
I know it's May and there's a long way, and teams can get better, and there'll be new people that are playing and new people that are performing, and Oregon may be the one that taps into that gear that we're not projecting right now. We're obviously more familiar, I think, at this point with Michigan's personnel and Penn State's personnel than Oregon's. But if you're even getting some questions about the Ducks, boy, that seems like a gilded path for the Silver Bullets to get to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I honestly think it could end up that maybe the second best off, and this is contingent on like Dylan Raiola being ready to rock and roll for Nebraska. But like Nebraska has a couple of guys that could be interesting on offense. So like maybe that's the second best offense Ohio State will play this year. I don't know. Yeah. Like Michigan will still be able to run the ball really well, I think. Well, maybe not really well. I don't know. They're not facing a gauntlet of offensive juggernauts this year. That is for sure. I think they have a chance to be perhaps comfortably around the number that Michigan posted last year, if not better than that. All right, let's do another football question from Steven. Now with a full-time offensive coordinator / play caller and a projected top 5 defense, do you think that the offense will be consistently more aggressive? For example, going for it more on 4th and short and not punting and plus territory, etc.
I
kind of think the opposite.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too, right? Because you trust your defense.
Yeah.
You just play conservatively. Yeah.
But you add a quarterback in Will Howard that you believe should remedy some of the short yardage situation problems. Mm-hmm. You have the 2 best running backs in the country. You have an offensive line that returns a lot of experience. And I think because you trust your defense, you feel comfortable maybe not getting it at 4th and 1 on the opponent 40 or a little bit more than you would in previous years.
Chip Kelly has consistently gone for it more on 4th down the last few years at UCLA than Ryan Day has at Ohio State, like by a significant margin most years.
He punted in plus territory in the spring game. Come on.
He did. I don't know if that was Chip Kelly's idea.
I know.
But they did. There's a point worth making. They did punt in plus territory in the spring game.
I'm teasing, but I do think that probably makes Ryan Day, like, let's say he's able to keep his hands off the wheel, not meddling as much in the offensive play calling, and he's just thinking about managing the game and like fully embraces CEO, offense, defense, decision making, and game management. I think that probably makes him less likely to do that. Like, and it wouldn't be an indictment of the offense or less aggressive. Trusting your defense can be a very good thing, and if they have the best defense in the country, which I think they will, you're able to do that. You don't have to push the envelope and take 4th and 2 shots to the end zone like he did in 2019 in a playoff game. Like there's something to be said for being fearless and trusting your offense and letting them go make plays. I'm not advocating that he stop doing that, but I think it is probably more likely that they would err on being conservative and not hurting themselves and not putting the defense in unwieldy positions, because like there's not going to be very many teams, especially in the schedule that we're just talked about, that are going to be able to drive the length of the field on them. Now, we don't know who's going to punt. Maybe that might be a bigger concern than not trusting it. Maybe that's a reason that they go for it more on 4th and 1 or 2 if they don't know what they're going to have on with their punter. But if that shores itself up and you have that defense, they're probably going to pin people back and trust themselves that way.
Yeah, that was part of the equation too. I think like I didn't think Jesse Merca was a great punter for Ohio State, but he was pretty good when on a short field, like pinning a team down inside the 10. He didn't have the leg to like flip the field when they really needed him to at times, but like those little pooch kicks, he was pretty good. So they don't have anybody that could do that. Maybe that does. I probably would make them go for it more, I would think. Anton asked the question. This is actually funny because Anton has a cool name, and he asked this question: with Steel Chambers off the team, who do you think has the best name on the OSU roster? I have one. I think it's Aaron Oland.
That's a pretty good name, especially for a quarterback.
Yeah, it's not technically his. It's not his government And neither was Steele, apparently.
We found out.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
I still don't believe it's true. But yeah,
I think I like Sonny Styles.
That's also very good. Yeah.
Sounds kind of Hollywood. I think those are the two really for me. Quinshawn Judkins is a pretty great name.
Quinshawn Judkins is going to run you over. Like, that's a good running back name. Yeah.
Travion Henderson is a pretty good athlete name too. Like, it's the best backfield and the best named backfield in the country.
Yeah.
Arvell Reese definitely sounds like someone who's going to truck you and put you down. JT Tuimoloau, I think maybe we've just gotten used to it and now we know how to pronounce it, but like it's great. It's a Hollywood-ish name, and hearing all the people on the road in all those visiting press boxes that we talked about on Thursday's edition of the Daily butcher his name gives me a little bit of entertainment.
Yeah. That's a good one. I've always liked the Mecca Ibuka. It's very melodic. It's a nice name.
And alliterative, which is our personal favorite. There's obviously great names like Hero Canoe. Hero's a great name.
Oh God, how do we not say yeah?
I mean, Gabe Powers is a great name. I mean, there's a lot of things that evoke, glory.
Yeah, Kojo is a great name.
Oh yeah.
It'd be better if it was Cujo.
I guess that's true. You know what name I like? I like Gabe Van Sickle. I like a Gabe. Give me a Gabe Van Sickle. That's an offensive lineman name.
Yeah, that's a incoming freshman for those who aren't aware. But doesn't that sound more like a guy who fell asleep under an apple tree for 100 years?
Yeah, or like he's a guy you got to like pay to cross a bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. No offense. Sorry, Gabe. Okay, here's a guy with a cool name. His name is Leaf. And he asked this question. I'm very interested to hear what you guys say, how you answer this. And I maybe should have given you a heads up. And it's just like you're going to have to rack your brain kind of quickly. So he says, sorry if this was asked before, but with Apple's all over the place top 100 albums of all time list done and dusted, what are some of your personal favorite albums? You don't have to pick anything iconic. If what you listen to isn't like that, it can be whatever you want. But do you guys have favorite albums that leap to mind?
Yes, of course. Cracked Rear View by Hootie and the Blowfish.
I was going to say that. That's a great album.
Is very high on the list.
Is it in the Apple Top 100? I've not looked at that.
It wasn't. No.
It's not in the Top 100?
It wasn't. No.
That's wow. Big mistake, Apple.
Hootie didn't make the cut.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Slippery When Wet, Bon Jovi, circa 1985. One of their, just classic. 10 by Pearl Jam, classic. Folklore by Taylor Swift, classic.
She did make the top 100, but only 1989 made the top 100.
How on earth
I'm allowed to prefer what I prefer. You don't need to judge me for it.
That's right.
I like Folklore because I think the song Exile is the best song of those two albums combined, which I think maybe Evermore is a better complete album, but Exile being on Folklore elevates it to a point that, like the one swing of the bat there is better. So that's why I go with Evermore.
You think that is the best Taylor Swift album?
It's my favorite Taylor Swift album. I like melancholy music.
Melancholy?
He's a melancholy fan.
Yeah. I learned how to say melancholy in shul. You didn't learn that in shul?
No, I did not. But I wish I had.
I forget that your daughter, I mean, you've seen Megamind, right? Like that's a Megamind reference.
No, I've not seen Megamind.
Wow. You're missing out, bud.
That's a good one.
It's a great one.
Huh. Okay.
There's a lot
favorite albums.
Awesome. A lot of them.
I do. Randy Rogers Band live at Billy Bob's. When people ask me like what they should listen to, like, what do you listen to? What's Texas country? How could I get into it? I would say, please put on Randy Rogers live at Billy Bob's and just listen to it straight through. And if you don't like it, fine, but we can't be friends and you're dead to me. That's one of my favorites of all time. So I think it's probably got more if I pulled up my Apple, that would be number one. Cracked Review was one of the first CDs that I ever had in my life. Had to probably get multiple versions of it before it wore out. Rope in the Wind, Garth Brooks.
Classic Garth.
Also, that's getting up there. I'm starting to feel old and appreciating the stuff that's been in my life for 25, 30 years more than the new stuff that comes out. But I would say that Fearless is Taylor's most listened to album on my phone.
Nice.
I also left out American Heartbreak by Zach Bryan, which is crazy. It's been released like 2 years ago, yesterday or 2 days ago, and I've listened to that probably 400 times in the last.
That's
2
a lot
years.
of songs. That's a lot of songs to listen to.
It's like 37 straight bangers, so it's hard to.
Have you listened to anything else since then?
Very little.
I have.
What do you got, Bill? Yeah.
So you'll sense a theme with mine. The Black Parade, My Chemical Romance.
Awesome. Best intro to any song of all time.
Riot by Paramore is an incredible album. Tell All Your Friends, Taking Back Sunday. I listened to a lot of emo when I was younger.
Are you okay, Bill?
I'm great. I love it. I listen to that music. That music picks me up.
Do you want to go to the Sum 41 concert next weekend?
No, I do not want to go to see Sum 41. I don't think. I was never a real big Sum 41
How could this
guy.
happen to me? It's unbelievable.
One album that I also want to mention that I think actually is like my favorite album, and I imagine maybe you guys have never listened to it, but it is by a band called Frightened Rabbit, and it's called The Midnight Organ Fight, and it is really good. It's super sad, but it's really
Good.
Oh, good.
Send me a link on Slack, please.
Firm's ears just perked up. Oh,
I'm sad.
You got something super sad?
Yeah,
Send it my way.
it's good. It's good. Also, Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves. No skips on that album. That's a good one. You guys got any more albums you want to talk about?
I could talk about music all day, but I don't know that we should.
Every album by Lonely Island is a no skips situation.
There you go.
I also think Turnpike Troubadours, Gin Smoke and Lies is probably like maybe their best song. I think that's Austin's favorite of theirs. I think that album is the same one that has 7 and 7, which is my favorite Turnpike Troubadours song. So like that album, I think what's called like Goodbye Easy Street or something, or Goodbye, what's it called? Goodbye Normal Street. Like that album is fantastic. If you're going to the Buckeye Country Fest on June 22nd and you're not familiar with Turnpike Troubadours, that's definitely the album to dive in on.
Couldn't agree more.
It's a good question from Leaf. Appreciate it. Back to football. This is from Jackson. What do players actually do during this part of the offseason? They can't have actual practices, so are they meeting with coaches and going over film? Are they just working out for 2 straight months before summer camp officially revs up? He says, I've never been able to figure out what this time of the offseason is for.
Exactly what he said. They meet with coaches. They work out all the time. In the old days, players used to go home and see their families. Now they just live at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. In the old days, they used to come back in June because they could work the recruiting camps and get paid for it. But now they all have money from NIL, so they don't have to do that. So we will see a lot of them just meandering and walking around campus and the facility when we're in there through the entire month of June. And they're doing obviously a lot of organized workouts, but nothing practice-wise that they're allowed to do. And it's just about bonding, right?
This has changed pretty dramatically in the last decade, certainly the last 2 decades that I've been covering college football, as it became more common practice for players to stay on campus throughout the summer and take classes. The coaches in the AFCA, NCAA, it's like, why can the coaches not give instruction? Like, you should be allowed to meet with your players. It shouldn't just be solely up to the strength staff. And like, as Justin Zwick talks about a lot on the Rooster shows on Monday, hoping that a practice script falls out of the sky so that they can go organize some throwing sessions in 7-on-7. The coaches cannot still get on the field with them. Not supposed to have, workouts where the coaches are overseeing any activity with a actual football in hand. So you'll see some of the clips of them doing stuff with like a tennis ball or Trying to take some of the stuff from the meeting room to a field to do some football-like activity. The throwing sessions still have to be like, independent, with quarterbacks running that with the wide receivers. You see the defensive backs doing out there, but they did start getting those hours. I don't know if it's 8 to 10. I'll have to check on that, but those didn't used to exist at all. You couldn't be doing football meetings in the summer. So that's a welcome change, I think, for programs around the country. It helps to continue with the development. It's still not the same as March or April or getting into training camp in August, but it is a big improvement in what they can do, because these players were going to be on campus anyway.
Do you think we'll get eventually, if not soon, like an OTA style thing, like non-padded practices for like a week or whatever in the middle of the summer before camp?
Once they're getting employee benefits, yes.
Yeah, probably. Right. Yeah, I think so too.
Holdouts.
Oh, great. Yeah. Berg immediately goes to the worst case scenario.
This is, I think it's Clayton sent this in. I think I wrote the name down wrong. What
I
is the
first?
first
Clayton.
What is the first offensive play that you're going to call in NCAA 25? His is going to be mesh, specifically from a 4-receiver tight bunch formation.
The play where there's the two wide receivers running jets, and then the tight end or the slot just runs the post. You can never cover it.
Like wide cross kind of thing.
Yeah. That's the play, because it's never covered.
Yeah. I'm running power.
7 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
I'm going to run just a dive.
Just get them warmed up.
We want to stay ahead of the chains. We don't want to fall behind, so we'll just line up in the eye, and we'll call Dave, and we'll just power it off the left side. We're good to go.
It does bring to mind an interesting question, though, because Bill, we've talked for months about your plan to get a PS5 or an Xbox X series or whatever. Have you made a decision?
I haven't made a decision yet. I want to wait to see if there's actually going to be cross-platform ability online, because I saw some people say there is, and then I saw something else this week that says there's not. And I know that like a bunch of people were actually out in Orlando on Thursday, like playing the game, and they're going to eventually get to write about the experience. So I want to wait to know whether or not that's actually an option before I pick which system I'm going to buy.
And Austin, you haven't played a video game in like a decade. So, is this game enough? Ironically, it's been about a decade, and that's the last time NCAA football was out. So is this game have a big enough lure to bring you back to the nerd side? Not that you don't get into enough nerdy things as it is, but you know what I mean?
I'm plenty nerdy as it is. It was my favorite game growing up. It was my favorite game in college. We had, dynasty leagues and all that stuff, and loved it, but it probably won't be. It's hard for me to envision when I would play it. The timing doesn't exist anymore. We have Liberty's almost 7. Now I know you can make time for any hobby you want, but I have so many freaking hobbies that I don't know which one I would give up. So I guess if I stopped, selling cards for an hour every night, I could play a couple video games and get through a dynasty. But I don't know.
You could give up the hobby of being an attentive husband and father and play the video game.
Well,
how about that?
Or you just do what I do and cut your hours of sleep in half, and do what I do and sleep 4 hours a night.
I don't know that I can do either of the things that you suggested. I definitely shouldn't do what Bill said, and I don't know
probably not. If
I'm ready to sacrifice those hours of sleep that you have.
It's also not a great idea to have a video game system in your house, because Liberty would never. You'd have to keep kicking her off the sticks.
Yeah, she, on our impromptu road trip last week, she played Sonic Rush or Sonic Run or Sonic Rush. I don't know what it's actually called, for like 6 hours on the iPad, and got pretty good at it. And I'm like, well, that's not good. We can't be putting an Xbox or PlayStation in her hands, because she would not put it down. That is for sure. We rarely let her have that opportunity. She made the most of it. But then maybe it would give me somebody to play in house. Because one thing I never did, I stopped playing video games
when they all went online.
Yeah, that was right about the time that I stopped. I started at the Casper Star Tribune in 2007, and I didn't really. That's basically when I stopped. So I never really got into, getting online and playing with another random random person you couldn't see or didn't know.
It does also beg the question on road trips this year. We got a lot of things going on with road breaks and some throwing down some units on football that we're watching, drinking beers, ripping cards. But I think we're now required to bring our PS5.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
I can't believe you didn't do that before.
Well, there was never this game available to do it. And, the nerd.
I wanted to play the new WWE game. You wouldn't even bring it down for a week when you were going to be in my house for 3 nights.
That's not during the season. It's a complicated.
That was last month.
I know, but the children they don't like me to take the PS5 away from here, but during the season, it's a little different. And normally the games I play are pretty nerdy and not something that you guys would be into. So I certainly wouldn't bring the PS5 in the hotels on the road. But for college football, I probably will. Because I think road breaks with us playing each other in college football on live streaming would probably be something people would enjoy.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'm hopeful that the cross-platform thing does exist, so we can do a online dynasty with our subtext group. That'd be fun.
Agreed.
Or even multiple, maybe if enough people want to do it.
Probably have to. We could just do an Xbox One and a PS5 one.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we each have to get one of those systems then. All right, let's move on here. Oh, from Eric, what past Ohio State team do you wish you could have covered?
1990. I think covering the 2002 team would have been an absolute stress bomb. 90.
Why would it have been so stressful? All those games were really comfortable, weren't they?
That's how we remember it. Yeah. The 98 team was just so star powered. I think that would have been a lot of fun. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think any team is fun to cover because of the people on it. And I don't know that we talk enough about how much different or how elevated the quality of person is that's now at Ohio State and how much better it is to cover these kids than I think it probably would have been 30 years ago. No offense to anybody who's listening who played 30 years ago, but you guys were all a-holes.
I mean, everybody wants to cover history.
Yeah.
So to me, that seems pretty obvious. I mean, I remember watching that championship game and thinking, no way Ohio State had any business winning against Miami. So that was kind of the way that whole year played out. I mention this all the time to I'm not going to talk about the fan base as a whole. I'm going to talk about my brothers-in-law and friends those people that bitch incessantly if Ohio State doesn't win by 50. They're the only 3 or 4 people that I know that do that. They're just a super small subsect of the fan base. But I'm like, what did you do in 2002? They won every game. Isn't that the goal? What are we complaining about? You can't do this, can't do that. They didn't win by 100. All right. Well, they gave them a trophy at the end of the year. I thought that's what they were playing for. So thank goodness the rest of you aren't like that. And all you care about is if Ohio State wins the game. That is a big relief for all 3 of us. But to you guys that are in my phone, let's just cool it. All right. You wouldn't have done that in 2002.
I mean, 2014 is such a remarkable story, and we all got to cover that in its own right. That was truly historic. But it's a season that I think back to 10 years removed. How many people forgot how that year actually went? And yet the 2002 season where they went undefeated, people look at that one and be remember all of the tension and all of the close games, but they all forget about it in 2014, and I don't know why.
I had that conversation not too long ago with Ari. I guess it was before the Cotton Bowl, because he's like, well, that team just kept building and building, and you knew by the end of the year that they were on another level and deserved to be there. I'm like, the Minnesota game was like in the middle of November. Like they
Yeah.
had to go to overtime to get through that. And I'm not picking on Ari. It just like it's to your point. Lots of people think that it was a steady climb and a slow build. Like it wasn't necessarily that. They did play well in the Michigan game, but something significant happened to kind of derail that progress then in the second half of that game. So it became a completely new journey even once you got to December.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to win 59-0 in the Big Ten championship game to get into the playoff.
Right. Yeah. I picked the 1996 team because I wanted to cover Orlando Pace. That was my choice.
96 was a great team. Should have won a national championship. Should have won a national championship.
Yeah, and they were good, but yeah,
pretty good offensive linemen on that team.
They were great. Now you a year earlier, Bill, get there in 95. You get to cover Corey Stringer and Orlando Pace on the same.
Oh, together. Yeah, I guess I should do that. All right, we'll call it 95.
Plus, that was Eddie George winning a Heisman, Terry Glenn winning a Bolitnikoff. I mean, it was Ricky Dudley the last time Ohio State had a first-round pick at tight end. Like it was Sean Springs. I mean, it was 95 was a pretty loaded group too. Oh, also that team should have won. That team should have won the national championship too. So should 98.
Tell us how you feel about John Cooper.
Yeah.
Not going to do that again. I'm not going to do that again. We had that conversation on Kings of Columbus 2 weeks ago, and I'm finally calmed down. I'm not going to do that again.
All right, 2 more questions. From Charles, do you guys have a favorite book about football? He says, I've been hitting a reading slump and I thought I might dive into a football book. He's already read Friday Night Lights and Junction Boys.
I can't say that I do. I generally read, if I'm reading like fiction, it's just Stephen King. And if I'm reading nonfiction, it's not generally football.
Mine is The Perfect Pass is one that I would recommend. It's about like the creation of the air raid offense. It's good, but it's like written like it's not like a technical book on how to run the air raid offense. It's a story about how Mummy and Mike Leach like decided they wanted to do it and stuff. It's actually kind of interesting. So that's one I would recommend.
I was trying to see the title over here on my bookshelf and I can't quite see it. I think it might have just been called The Dynasty, and it was about Brady, Belichick, Robert Kraft, and gave a lot of fodder for the much criticized Apple Plus docuseries, which I have not watched, which took a much more critical approach to Bill Belichick. But a lot of really interesting stories there. I know reading about the Patriots would not be everyone's cup of tea. I didn't think it was going to be mine, but I got sent a review copy and I really liked it. So that's out there.
The Nick Saban biography by Monty Burke is good too. I've read that. I enjoyed that. All right, last question. What is the most fun experience you've gotten to? What is the most fun experience y'all have gotten to have? Excuse me, because you cover the Buckeyes. That's from Tyler.
I said it on Thursdays Daily, like getting to cover Ohio State and having travel arrangements paid for, having a seat in the stadium. Like even when I'm not happy about some things that happen when I'm there, I'm covering Ohio, the most prestigious brand in college football with the best, largest fan base, and they're playing the most important games and most watched games in college football every single year. So like that's the coolest part. And the fact that I've been doing it now for 12 years is pretty wild, but that we have earned the trust, I think, of some people to do things like Buck 9. Like, that's not covering the game. That's just, knowing some of the people and the personalities, and they know us, and people want to do business and make content with us. That's pretty wild. Like seeing Emeka Egbuka and competing against him, watching him hit 183 mile an hour ball speed and Jack Sawyer, like that stuff is pretty cool. Like,
yeah,
that's like, I don't know of anybody else that gets to do that. So we've done 6 of those so far with the Fairway Columbus. That's a product of getting to cover this team, which A, I'm really lucky to get to do. And then B, it's set up some other opportunities that I think are really awesome, and combining hobby and work and all the other things.
Yeah, I mean, at the risk of sounding dismissive, like I still have been covering Ohio State now for this is going into year 14, and I still get chills every time I walk into Ohio Stadium. Like it's the best job in the world for somebody who grew up in Ohio, dreaming of Ohio State football the way I did. But on like a micro level, the best times I've had like on the beat were the Fiesta Bowls in the mid 2010s. Like those weeks in Arizona were just absolutely unbelievable, like fun. As far as this being in a place that I knew, but also being able to go around and see different things, and the way that they did hospitality there. Then the games other than 2016 have all been pretty fun and pretty exciting games. Like those trips are my favorite. I mean, without question. We got to go to Disneyland in 2018. Like that was pretty cool. Like,
I didn't get to do that. I didn't go to that game. Or no, I went to that game, but I didn't get there early enough to go to Disneyland.
We didn't get to ride any rides at Disneyland.
I don't ride rides, so I don't care. I just got to see the people and Mickey and Minnie and that place where Cars does their car thing, Apache Junction or something like that. I don't know. What's it called?
Thunder Canyon or something like that.
Yeah, Thunder Canyon.
Apache Junction. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think. I mean, my thoughts are basically what you guys said. It's just kind of like the job in general is the most fun experience. But like we get like access to places we probably shouldn't get access to, and like I think maybe like the pregame scene of that Notre Dame game 2 years ago when like LeBron was there and Joe Burrow was there, and it was just like I shouldn't be here. I'm way too close to all this. I should be like on my couch watching on television somewhere. So that was like a very cool experience.
That game was surreal, like pregame, and that was really weird.
Yeah. What the game itself was like, whatever. Like it ended up being a good win for Ohio State, but it wasn't particularly exciting. But the pregame atmosphere, I think, will probably remain unmatched in my career.
That same thing happened before the 2016 Michigan game, right? Like all of the Cavs showed up. I'm like, what are these guys doing here? And there's still that video of like LeBron and Kyrie Irving, I think, like. I don't know what the dance is called or what they were doing. There's like in the corner of the end zone while Ohio State was still warming up. There's like, we go wherever we want. We're the Cavs and I'm LeBron. I'm like, well, he's right. He can do whatever he wants. There is one more question though, Bill. You can't just skip to the end. This is Freaky Friday. Yeah. So the last time we had a mailbag was the day before Backlash. And this is the day before the King and Queen of the Ring.
Oh, well, hit me with it. What do you got?
So, glad you guys waited until the end for this. Just for the people.
Burr's going to roll his eyes.
Just for the people that get mad.
I don't know. Who? Yeah. Oh, look at him. He's looking down. I'm going to scroll my phone. I'm not even going to.
I'm checking the card.
Who you got winning the brackets on Saturday, Bill? Now that Triple H has said that they get a title shot at SummerSlam, Ohio Connection in Cleveland Browns Stadium on August 3rd.
Yeah, so I think that'll be Randy Orton on the men's side, and then he'll wrestle Cody at SummerSlam because like Cody has like said that he wants that. And then I don't women's like Nia Jax, I guess, right? I don't know. I'm not particularly excited about that, but I think that's who's going to win.
Yeah, Nia against Bayley seems to make more sense because I don't think that. Let's say that Rhea Ripley is cleared in a month. Yeah, I know you are. I want to make sure that you were ready. Like, there's enough options on the Raw side that I don't think they would want to pin themselves into a program there for Lyra Valkyria at SummerSlam against Becky or Liv. Like, you gotta stay where the money is with Liv, Becky, and Rhea Ripley. So I think they would want to leave that door open, which is why I think that Gunther will beat Randy Orton on Saturday, so that he's facing either Drew McIntyre or Damian Priest, and that leaves the door open in case the final boss happens to be available, or in case Roman decides that he's going to work again this year.
That's a fair point. You might be right about that. I feel like Gunther is a more fitting King of the Ring. No offense to Randy Orton, he is a Hall of Famer, but feels
when
like
when Pat McAfee started calling him the King General, I was like, oh well, this tournament's over.
Yeah. Berm, your thoughts?
I totally agree.
Berm, who you got in Liv Morgan against Becky Lynch and Cody against Logan Paul?
Becky Lynch will win. And is it for a title with Cody and Jake Paul?
Only Cody's title. No, Jake
Logan
Paul's
Paul?
not.
Jake Paul?
Jake Paul's doing something different. He's fighting Mike Tyson.
Cody will win.
Yeah. It would be pretty wild if he didn't.
I will say, I did watch the Logan Paul match at WrestleMania, and that guy, what a freaking athlete. Like, that's crazy how good he is at that sport for somebody who's never done it before. And then you watch like that LA Knight guy, and he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing in the ring, but he's a night. He's really good with the crowd and stuff, and that's obvious. But like, he clearly is not like the athlete / technician that a lot of those other guys are.
Wow. Swiping at Austin's man there.
And that's a good time for us to say goodbye.
Oh no, wait! I have one more wrestling question for the two of you.
Okay.
Do we see Uncle Howdy on Saturday?
Hell yeah.
Berm?
I don't know who that is, but yes.
It's time. Now, it is weird that they've done all the QR codes. They all seem to be suggesting that we're going to see that on Saturday, but they're going to fly everybody to Saudi Arabia to do it.
That's the one thing. But every PLE between here and SummerSlam is overseas, right? There's not one in the States until Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, thank God it is SummerSlam. Yeah. The countdown is on. Biggest party of the summer. Memorial Day signals the start of summer to many people. So hope you have a safe. I never know how to say it right. It's not a celebration.
Have a fun, safe weekend.
Have a fun, safe holiday weekend. We will not have the podcast daily on Monday, and Roosters is also closed, so there will not be a live show. We're going to take Monday off, and everything will be back again on Tuesday for the podcast daily. So again, enjoy your weekend with your loved ones, and we'll see y'all on the other side. Thanks for joining us on Freaky Friday. For Bill and Burr, I'm Austin. So long.